Hello YouTube, Chance Paladin here. This is the Breath of Thunder vibe check teaser. This is for the Kickstarter going on from Sungrand Studios, the same gentleman that brought you the likes of Silver Falls, 3 Down Stars, and Deathly Delusion Destroyers, and a whole slew of others. I've done a video on him before and his wonderful games, and now he's working on his new Kickstarter, which is Breath of Thunder. And if it looks familiar to some of you, like Breath of Fire, that is the inspiration, and the music draws heavily from it, and the light-hearted tone, and lots of fuzzy critters. Not sure how much my voice is gonna hold out, so I'm just gonna do my best here and cover it, try to give my thoughts on it. Oh, and before I go too far, this is available for free right now on itch.io, and I'll throw the link down in the chat. This version doesn't have combat in it because I believe he didn't have the special effects done. Oh, I kind of look around like this because I was looking at the artwork. There's a fish buddy, and I believe a fox buddy and a bird buddy. And in this version, there's lots and lots and lots of buddies to talk to. And it's kind of a tech demo in a way too, so you saw that there was a camera zoom in there. There's a character running around here, very akin to, I don't know, it immediately reminded me of Link to the Past, where you gotta catch him and talk to him. Eventually I do catch him and talk to him. Butterflies, and you'll see me running through the grass here. That animation works really well, going behind trees. Here in a little bit I walk on top of mushrooms and you'll see them squish down. I think I mentioned, yep, you can run up. I know these things, like, it seems stupid that, you know, I'm bringing these things up, but I've noticed in, like, a lot of video games, people take things for granted, and it kind of reminds me of this roommate from a long time ago when they were playing Diablo, the very first Diablo, and they were like, "You can't go in the doors. You can't go in the doors." And I'm like, "Geez, it's not that kind of, like, you're in the town. You don't need to go in the house." Like, but there's people different assumptions, and I remember it like way later watching this review of like Resident Evil 2 remake, and somebody's like, this gal was like, "You can't pick up every single thing and look at it and rotate it around. I don't like that." It's like, it's not that kind of game. But then I realized they're used to, I think in Unity you can do it for sure, and I think Unreal too. I mean Unreal also, where, you know, you can pick up every single thing and look at it. And so they just assumed that every game was like that. And the roommate had played a lot of Ultima Online. So, you know, in the Ultima games, you know, you walk into every single door of everything. So, I always thought that was weird, but I think in Diablo 2, you can go in just about every door. Diablo 1 was a very simple game in that regard. Anyway, the music's awesome. I'll, at some point, I'll turn it up, but you can kind of hear it in the background. I'll try to figure out a volume that works really well. Later on, I do figure out how to run in that lake. There is definitely a way to run in that lake, which is pretty funny. So among the tons and tons of people to talk to, they also have different things based on how many times you talk to them. So they, you know, you can see that the dialogue's changing. I guess the reason why I'm bringing this up is, like, I want to emphasize the maturity of the engine. I think that's what I'm that's what I'm getting at here. The trees could maybe, maybe you could squeeze into the trees a little bit more, but he's tweaking a lot of this as he goes, and so I'm sure he could make those trees a little easier to squeeze through. There's the big thing, besides talking to people and seeing how big he can make a map and see all the tech demo-y type things he can do, is there's hidden mushroom mons throughout here, and they kind of give you a hint, like, hey, there's mushroom mons you can go find. I lost count, and so I'm not sure if I actually get them all, but I played this for almost 40 minutes last night and was just enjoying running around in circles. And even though he said this is inspired by Breath of Fire, I think he played a lot of either Secret of Mana or Legends of Mana. I can't exactly remember which, but this reminded me a lot about Secret of Mana, actually. Just the way the little guys run around. I wanted to jump in that well. I'm like, I remember thinking to myself, I hope eventually you can jump in that well. Any RPG where you can jump in the well just blows my mind. You might think, how many games does that happen? I know, Ringo says at least 2. So, Mylon's Secret Castle, you can jump in the well. And, I think Zelda 2, you can jump in the well. And, Landstalker, I know for sure in Landstalker you could jump in the well. I always thought that was really cool. So lots of fun rocky areas to climb up, I noticed, and just the terrain in the map and stuff was really smooth. There's some Z-axis stuff a little bit later on. Maybe I'll pause this and fast forward to that. Alright. So there's a couple spots in here with Z-axes that you can play around with, which is where your character can kind of go up in the map. And that's obviously a lot of fun, because that means you can get your characters stuck. And so I had a lot of fun getting my characters stuck and seeing how they rebound. And again, like, really mature engine. The characters were able to rebind and reform. And I thought that was neat. Like, I'm probably going to keep making this point over and over again, but these are all signs of like a competent video game engineer, because it'd be really easy if you weren't handling this properly. For example, for the game to just crash, right? They can't path, the game crashes or something, or the characters just disappear or break or clip through it or something. But they handle it just fine, and they reform. And there's actually a mushroom up there, but I don't get it right now, because I wasn't hunting for mushrooms right now. I was just enjoying the map and squishing on things. So I'll go get the mushrooms later. I mean, there's not a lot else to say right now. It's bright and colorful. The music's great. I could see myself playing this for hours and hours. He does have the combat working. It's going to be random battles, I think, just like Breath of Fire. And he has the battle music done. And yeah, I think I'll fast forward again to me starting to hunt around and grab things, mayhaps. Alright, something like that. Hopefully this all syncs up right. So This is where I start collecting spike mushroom. Well, they're mushroomons. There's different ones. So this is when I started adventuring and finding the rest of them. So I'll just let this play for a little bit and kind of give my thoughts, if I can think of any more thoughts. Oh, this game shows lots of promise. I can't wait to see where he goes from here. The engine seems extremely competent. I can't remember how long he said he's been working on this engine, or exactly what engine he is, but I think he said he's been working on this for a couple years. If I recall, I'm drawing a blank right now. It's been a really long week. It's been a really long couple years. Yeah, I don't know. I never got bored. The music never got annoying. It's competent. It has every single thing that it needs. You can run behind trees, you can run behind houses, you can talk to people. I don't exactly know what the inventory system looks like yet, but I do know from playing oh man. Wow. Oh, duh. Triple D. I don't know why I forgot that all of a sudden. It's like, well, anyway, yeah, Triple D, Deathly Delusion Destroyers. That has an inventory system, all the RPG elements and weapons and armor and everything. So he knows exactly what he's doing. Jarrell from Sungrand Studios, and he's fully transparent about everything he does. He works on this in real time on his streams sometimes. I'm 100% confident he can roll this game out. He has a proven track record of, I don't even know, like 10 or 15 games now. I've lost track. And if it wasn't for Unity being a dumpster fire, which is a huge problem in the game industry as a whole right now, I know he would actually be even further. So I'm glad that he is spun off and working on other stuff, and maybe this will help kind of put some of that Unity frustration behind all of us. I have a game that I made in Unity also, right around the same time he did, and I was just as frustrated, and it was, I mean, nothing any of us could do about it, but it was nice to know that I wasn't the only one sharing in those frustrations. So and I mean, maybe that's what I'll talk about a little bit, not like get in there and make it about you, but I've made quite a few games myself, and I always wanted to make an RPG, and I've always wanted to have, an RPG with my paladin. That's what I always wanted, and I would just get so entranced in it. Sometimes I would just sit there and dream about having some kind of hack and slash or some kind of RPG. And the engines were just never available. I have no idea if this is going to sync up with the track. I'm just kind of doing my best. We'll see. Hopefully this syncs up with the track. Anyway, so I think in a way, like, this isn't exactly the game I would make. That being said, like, I talked and tried to pitch my game to dev studios, and I think I didn't even know what kind of game I wanted to make for my paladin game. But the point I think I'm getting to is, like, if it had been 4 different paladins running around exactly like this, I would have still been like the happiest camper in the world. I wanted like a Diablo hack and slash with my paladin, but this with my paladins would have still been just as great. It's right there. It's right there. Get it. He gets it eventually, or I get it. The character gets it eventually. I was having fun running around the houses, running under things. Whee! It's right there. No, I find it later. Anyway, you know, I hope he makes a paladin in this. That would make me super happy. I'm just a sucker for paladins in video games. Paladins and plague doctors and, you know, alchemists and stuff. I think all that stuff is so cool, and I know he likes to make all that kind of quirky stuff, and so I know he's got his fish guy, you know, so I imagine him having water attacks, and the bird, so I imagine him having, like, you know, air attacks. I think Nina was one of my favorite characters, and maybe the bird will have like wind attacks. I don't know. Like, it's, the point is, I think like this makes me kind of, it makes me feel like a kid again, and I think that's exactly what Jarrell was going for, and he pulls it off. It's kind of like the innocence of waking up early on a Saturday before your parents can monopolize what tiny bit of childhood you have, you know, or staying up late like on a quiet Friday night before they can monopolize your entire, you know, the tiny bit of your childhood that you have, and playing something that just like takes you into another dimension and away from all like the stress and drama of the family that, you know, even schools back then were absolutely horrible. They're dreadful now. There's one right there, get it. And I think, you know, there's something to be said about like member berries and nostalgia and all that, but like, I think the reality of it is there's just something to be said. There's just something to be said for like being able to play something that just makes you feel good. And sure, like, it can be, you know, eventually bad, like people who are addicted to casino games and stuff that drain their bank accounts, but like these nice brightly colored RPGs, I think he mentioned either Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross too, I just remember that, but like Breath of Fire was like one of those games that like shouldn't have been made, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like, Capcom was known for Mega Man X and Street Fighter, and they're just like, let's just, like, I want to know who was just like insane enough to be like, dude, we need to make an RPG. We'll show everybody. I'm like, that just, it's just takes so much cojones, you know, to like just decide to do this. And they made not one but 2, 3, 4, what, there's like 4 or 5 Breath of Fires, and 1 and 2 were amazing. Yeah, the encounter rates were a little high and your damage drops off really bad in the first one, but like in the second one there was like elemental effects when you attacked and stuff, I mean, which is like straight out of Mega Man X, X2. It was just like, it was like you were like blessed or like privileged or something, like you're experiencing something that shouldn't have happened, but it did, and it was an amazing experience because it was so bright and bubbly and like lighthearted, and the characters were just so wonderfully rendered, and the designs were just like so different. you know, there was Earthbound and Secret of Mana and Final Fantasy 3/6 and Chrono Trigger and I already said Earthbound. Illusion of Gaia. It's right there. And, oh boy. Yeah, I'm forgetting the A Secret of Evermore. Thank you, whoever said that in the chat. I'm joking. I'm talking to myself. That's a joke. If you're new here, those are the jokes I say to myself. This it's just nice to see bright, bubbly animations and nice, bright, bubbly music, and not have these like trendy, crappy games rammed down your. I really wanted to see some water bubbling out of that. It's just like, I like the font. The font's really nice. Like, the color grading of the menus really nice. I'm sure eventually he's gonna have that text seem like it's typing out and have little blibbits or gibbets or something, and I'm sure that orb is gonna have some glowing effects. You know, I can see the promise. I can 100% see this happening. Does that kind of make sense? Like, I hope I'm kind of making sense. I hope. And I was imagining like caves. Like, it looks like, you know, you do something to that orb and like maybe a cave opens underneath and there's dungeons. I was just like so excited. I hope he adds tons of characters. I hope when you get the characters, I hope they're added to like a farm or a homestead. Like Breath of Fire 2 is like super cool about that. You added your guys and they go populate your base like Robin Hood's Merry Men. You know, maybe there will be like some gardening there like Harvest Moon. I know, I was playing. Honestly, I'll be honest, I was playing this and I couldn't stop thinking of Harvest Moon 64 the whole time. Which I know that's Natsumi. But, you know, I was interested in all the little clans. I mean, even just with this tiny bit of dialogue, like, I can see all the backstory. There's different clans and they're gonna need help doing stuff, and I think he said there's gonna be like 20 hours of core gameplay, so if I can run around in circles like this, like, man, I could play 20 hours easily. Because I was just immediately drawn into it. The butterflies, like, it's great. And sure, there's teeny tiny graphical glitches, but you can't. I've noticed in every single game I play now, like, I don't know if that's my video card or what, but some things are always funky on. But I mean, like, it's like 99.999% perfect. The game didn't crash the whole time. Nothing freaked out. Excuse me, sorry. I feel like there was another point that I wanted to make. Oh, his next demo's coming up soon that's gonna have combat. 20 hours. I think there's gonna be a lot of side stuff to do that's optional. I don't have the whole Kickstarter memorized, and I didn't want to do another YouTube that's just me going through Kickstarter stuff. So yeah, and just side note, that's what I used to do. Like, I used to get Kickstarters launched when I was unemployed there for 4 years when the economy was really bad last time. I spent a huge chunk of that time just getting people's Kickstarters launched, just so I would have something to play that wasn't garbage. And I've been waiting all this time for another good Kickstarter game to come along. That's not to say there hasn't any, because there probably has been, but I think there's been like a lot of problems. Even when games get funded, there's been a lot of problems, and from very competent developers too, as well. I think what happens with the developer that I'm thinking of, they launched a really successful game, and then they had to kind of keep porting the game over and over and over again to like keep paying the bills over and over again as they made their next game, and they got a Kickstarter for that game. And I think they didn't quite ask for enough money to like handle kind of like the back pay, and they kept having to port over and over and over. And Jarrell's talked about that as well, about how if he doesn't make like a game a month, like he's gonna be underwater, which is why he needs to do a Kickstarter for this. And he's 100% right, based on other small studios. Even like, it doesn't matter how competent they are, like things are getting more and more and more expensive, and if you don't have a big IP that is subsidizing your future development, your Kickstarter has to be pretty big, because it's got to get you caught up from the time that you're spending on the Kickstarter. And he even brought that up, like needing a Kickstarter manager. And that's kind of what I used to do a little bit. It's kind of like hype man, kind of like marketing, kind of project manager, kind of like setting expectations. But I haven't done that in a long time. He's getting it, but I think he's also realizing it is really hard for one person, and I certainly am stretched way too thin. But what I can do is I can talk about it, and even if just one more person, if I raise awareness to even just one more person, like, who knows? I'm lucky if these videos reach a couple people anyway. I'm actually shadow banned on Twitter now, which really stinks. So me posting this stuff on Twitter doesn't do any good. But I'll save that for another video. But I'm not I don't seem to be shadow banned on Twitter, on YouTube. So I think in closing, because this video is wrapping up, I want to say, don't let Kickstarter's prior problems with certain games dissuade you from ever supporting a Kickstarter game again, because some of those had extremely competent studios that made... Oh, there we go, right into the lake. But hey, the game didn't crash. Some of those were very competent studios. They just made very simple mistakes. I think that's different than some of them that were just flat out scams. This isn't a scam. Jarrell is an extremely competent developer. He released the last game on the 3DS. I think the last game on the Wii U. He's re-released several of them and more for the Switch, and releases tons and tons of homebrew games. He streams live, he does his own music. Lots of community service. Like, he's the real deal. So, if you can check it out, even if you just share it, maybe video games aren't your thing, maybe you just like to hear me talk. I don't know, which is fine too, but at a bare minimum, he needs the positive vibes, because the negativity is a real killer. So I'll leave you with that, and looking at these cute characters, and hopefully you can look at this and see what can be. And if he does another video, when he does another release of the combat, I'll do a shorter video for that. And I hope you check this out, and I appreciate y'all, and hopefully this audio syncs up. And this has been Breath of Thunder, the Breath of Thunder vibe check #1. So appreciate y'all. Bye-bye.